It was a project called Students for Social Impact. It was a pilot exchange program, a bit of an experiment, a collaboration between the British Council and the J.W. McConnell Family Foundation. They're a charitable foundation based out of Montreal in Canada. And the idea for the exchange came out of discussions with universities who said time and again that they had really good programs looking at social innovation and social entrepreneurship, good courses, good modules, a lot of students that were getting interested in the topic, but what they were lacking was any sort of experiential learning opportunities for the students to get real world and or workplace experience. And so what the McConnell Foundation and the British Council thought we'd do is have a little pilot, take 10 students from Canada, 10 students from the UK, and give them the opportunity to undertake work placements in the opposite country for 10 weeks over the summer.
Great. And now at the conference itself, you were reporting the different projects that they did. Could you maybe explain that a bit?
Yeah, so the students during the 10-week placement, they were undertaking research questions, but they were also helping their social enterprise placement hosts carry out a number of activities, whether that was marketing or administrative duties or things like that. There was also an aspect of communication, so promotions, rebranding, but also their own telling their own personal stories. So those were the three areas of work that we were exploring with the students, and that's what they were presenting to the attendees.
Had the students met before?
They all came together at the beginning of the 10-week period in Toronto. And that was when they all first met. We based what we called Launchpad out of the Centre for Social Innovation, which is a social innovation sort of incubator in Toronto, and it's got a number of different locations. We all came together in CSI, Centre for Social Innovation, in Regent's Park in Toronto, and delivered 2 days of training for the students. So the idea was introduce them to the concept of social enterprise, introduce them to some sort of business background to a certain extent. The students came from a number of different disciplines. We were agnostic in terms of what subjects the students could be studying. So there was everything from economics students to English literature students to biomedicine students and criminology, and across the piece. So we brought them all together to give them an opportunity to get a sort of a base level grounding in social enterprise. And then, as Ceecee mentioned, we set out the areas of work that we were going to ask them to look at over the course of their placements. And then, from Toronto, they all went off to their various different places. The Brits went to different places in Canada, and the Canadians flew over to the UK to join their social enterprises.
One of the main things that we definitely made sure that was happening was throughout their placements, they had an internal communication channel in which they could speak to one another, support one another, and be those sort of networks of support while they were in foreign countries, oftentimes the countries and continents they've never been to. So they met up during their placements, and they communicated over social media and also throughout emails.
So what happened exactly now at that conference? The students were able to participate in workshops, they presented their projects. Could you maybe tell a bit about your impressions from the last 3 days here?
Yeah, well, I can start if you want. It's been an absolutely brilliant opportunity for the students. Really fantastic timing. It was very lucky that York St. John and their Erasmus-funded social economy project was having their wrap-up at the same time as the Students for Social Impact project was ending. So what we were able to do was bring all the students together for the first time since they all met in Toronto. And on Monday we had a sort of in-depth evaluation where we interrogated the experience of the placements to try to identify what worked well, what we might want to change going forward. So that was just an internal meeting for the students. And then over the last 3 days of the conference, the students have had a chance to take part in the plenary sessions. Most of them took part in a learning skills workshop that was looking at facilitative leadership. And I think that was deeply useful for them. A lot of them came out with some really useful insights. And in addition to that, there was an opportunity for the students to present on their research findings and also the experience of the program. So we had 3 presentation slots for the Students for Social Impact, 2 groups of research presenters. We had 3 students from Canada presenting the findings of their research, 3 students from the UK presenting their findings, and then today the students had divided up into working groups, and one group looked at examining the day job work and their sort of day-to-day life. One group looked at examining an overview of the research projects, and then the last group looked at an overview of the different communications activities that the students had undertaken. So they all had an opportunity to present on what they did, but then also crucially what personal reflections they might have as a result of what they did. And then they made some really useful and interesting recommendations for different things that universities could do to try to encourage social entrepreneurship and raise awareness about social entrepreneurship opportunities amongst their student body. So I think we had I was really impressed with a lot of the presentations, actually. I think the students did a brilliant job. And I must say, we had nothing to do with it. We can take absolutely no credit for that. And we're just really proud of what they achieved and how they were able to express themselves. In addition, I think it was really lucky for them to be able to have these sort of presentation experiences in a conference environment. So that's very unique. It would have been much different if we just come together as the groups that were involved in the projects initially, to have an opportunity to present to and meet with different professors from different parts of the world, and also to hear about experiences about what's going on in the social economy in different parts of the world, in other countries, experiences from other universities. It has just hugely added, I think, to the experience that they've had over the course of the 10 weeks. We couldn't have imagined a better conclusion for the program. We're ever so grateful to Catalina and Margaret. Catalina and Margaret, you missed me saying thank you to you, but thank you so much. You guys were brilliant to work with, and we're so thankful that you welcomed us into this conference.
Yeah, just to build on what Elizabeth said, I think the students, while they were working together in this group, they sort of were able to create and foster a sense of community within themselves and also within their own ecosystems that they were a part of when they were at their social enterprises. But coming to this conference, they were able to sort of experience almost a global movement, a global community, something that they may have not been able to be exposed to just within the confines of the placement. So for that, we're extremely grateful. And of course, they were part of social enterprises and had a taste of social entrepreneurship, which is in a lot of ways different than the social economy. So it's nice for them to get like a wider perspective. And so thank you to the conference organizers for inviting us, and we're so grateful. Yeah.
One more question. Next steps, future moves. Any thoughts on that?
For the Students for Social Impact project itself, as we mentioned, it's a pilot project. So we were lucky enough to be able to test out the connection and this model between Canada and the UK. I guess one of the things that the British Council might be interested in exploring is potential to involve students from other countries. And it may be that the way forward is to partner more closely with universities in different countries. And I guess that's one of the things that after we evaluate this initial pilot program, it's something that I guess we'd be looking to engage with potential partners on going forward.